There's a quiet category of people who walk through life carrying an invisible weight. A weight most of the world misreads, mislabels, or simply refuses to understand. These are the people who don't feel pride in their appearance. Not out of laziness, not out of rebellion, not out of insecurity, but because something deeper, more complex, and far more misunderstood is happening beneath the surface. In a world obsessed with self-image, where self-worth is measured in angles, lighting, filters, and perfectly curated feeds, not feeling pride in your appearance is treated almost like a psychological error. Society looks at you and thinks you've given up, that you don't care, that you're rejecting basic self-respect. But the raw truth, the one nobody talks about, is that people who don't feel pride in their appearance often operate on a completely different emotional wavelength. A wavelength shaped by identity, past experiences, and internal coping mechanisms. Before we go deeper, here's an uncomfortable question. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and genuinely felt something real? Not approval, not disgust, not evaluation. Something deeper. Anything at all. For many people, looking in the mirror feels like observing a stranger they've been responsible for maintaining, but never fully connected with. They adjust, fix, and tidy, but never feel that rush of pride everyone else seems so familiar with. They don't look and think, "This is me." They look and think, "This is the body I'm piloting." And that distinction alone reveals the psychological blueprint of this entire phenomenon. Let's break the silence and uncover what's behind this emotional detachment toward appearance. Not to diagnose or judge, but to validate those who have spent their entire lives feeling like outliers in a world that worships visual confidence. People who don't feel pride in their appearance often grew up in environments where their looks were either over-policed or completely ignored. Both extremes create the same wound. A sense that your worth has nothing to do with what you look like. Or worse, that how you look is something you have no right to claim pride over. Maybe you grew up hearing comments disguised as care. "You'd be so beautiful if you lost weight. Why don't you dress better? You look tired today." Backhanded compliments and critiques framed as encouragement chip away at your ability to form a healthy relationship with your physical self. When that's repeated enough times, your brain learns that appearance is something you're graded on, not something you can take pride in. Or maybe you grew up with the opposite, total indifference. No compliments, no celebrations, no "you look nice today," nothing. Your appearance was never acknowledged. And without those mirrors held up to you, literal or emotional, the concept of taking pride in what you look like never developed. Then there are those who live through more subtle patterns. Emotional neglect. Social invisibility, being overlooked in groups. Being the friend who blended in. Being the sibling who wasn't the pretty one. When you're consistently treated like a background character in the story of your own life, pride becomes a foreign emotion. And here's the twist nobody talks about. Some people don't feel pride in their appearance because they spent their whole lives using invisibility as a shield. For them, not being seen became the safest thing they ever learned. If you're not seen, you can't be judged. If you're not noticed, you can't be ridiculed. If you're not highlighted, you can't be targeted. So your brain learns that pride, especially pride in your appearance, is dangerous. It learns that drawing attention to yourself is unsafe. This creates a paradox. You want to feel good about yourself, yet every instinct inside you resists the vulnerability that pride requires. But let's go deeper, because this story is never one-dimensional. Some people don't feel pride in their appearance because they're wired differently. Their identity exists in the internal world, not the external one. Their talents, values, thoughts, and emotional landscape are their sense of self, not their reflection. They're the thinkers, the intuitives, the emotionally complex. Appearance doesn't define them, so they never learn to invest emotionally in it. They take care of their body, but they don't feel the emotional payoff society promises. And here is where things get even more interesting. Some people don't feel pride in their appearance because they built emotional detachment as a form of internal survival. If you've been disappointed by yourself or disappointed others, enough times your brain learns to stop forming emotional attachments to things that can be used against you. Looks fade. Looks change. Looks get criticized. So why form pride in something that can be taken away? This isn't insecurity, this isn't depression, it's self-preservation. But there's a deeper layer. The layer most people avoid because it reveals an uncomfortable truth about human psychology. Pride requires ownership. Ownership requires identity. Identity requires connection. So when someone doesn't feel pride in their appearance, it often means they don't feel connected to their physical self. They live more in their mind than in their body. Their reflection feels like a representation, not an embodiment. Their features feel like traits, not identity. They look, but they don't recognize. They observe, but they don't connect. And the world misreads this emotional disconnection as not caring, when in truth, it's something far more complex. Let's peel back the curtain even further, because this is where the story gets raw. Some people don't feel pride in their appearance because they were raised in environments where emotional safety was never tied to being seen, admired, or validated. Instead, they learned that their value came from behavior, achievement, responsibility, or resilience. Their worth was performance-based, not appearance-based. So now in adulthood, pride in their appearance feels trivial. It feels undeserved. It feels like something other people have access to, people who were told they were beautiful, valued, or impressive. People who received enough external reinforcement to build inner confidence. But for those who didn't, pride feels like a language they never learned to speak. And maybe, just maybe, you've spent your whole life feeling like your appearance is something you maintain for the world, not for yourself. Something functional. A requirement. A social obligation. Not something that brings you emotional validation. This creates a strange emptiness, a sense that something expected of you is missing, but you can't force yourself to feel it. Now here is where everything shifts. People who don't feel pride in their appearance often carry something remarkable, something society fails to recognize, an identity built on substance, not surface. Their internal value system is deeper, richer, more grounded. They form identity through their actions, character, intellect, emotional intelligence, creativity, or resilience. They navigate life with a focus on who they are, not how they appear. And this makes them powerful in ways the world doesn't understand because they're not easily manipulated by external approval. But this also creates conflict. When the world demands that you take pride in your appearance, yet you don't, you're seen as broken. People project insecurity onto you. They assume you're hiding something. They assume you're ashamed. They never consider that maybe, just maybe, you're operating on a different frequency. Let us be brutally honest. Some people don't feel pride in their appearance because they never had the chance to experience comfort in their own skin. Their body became a battleground through illness, weight stigma, puberty challenges, shame, aging, disability, disconnection, or trauma. When your physical self has been a source of pain or judgment, pride doesn't feel natural. It feels dangerous. And here's the emotional climax. The part most people aren't ready for. Not feeling pride in your appearance doesn't mean you dislike yourself. It means your relationship with yourself is more complex than society allows. You're not shallow. You're not defective. You're not doing life wrong. You're someone who learned to anchor identity internally, not externally. You're someone whose worth isn't tied to mirrors or metrics. You're someone who built a deeper kind of confidence, one the world rarely sees because it isn't too photogenic, but it's powerful. But here's the final truth you need to hear. You deserve to feel at home in your body. Not necessarily proud, not necessarily impressed, not necessarily obsessed, just aligned, connected, present, at peace. You don't need to force pride. You don't need to chase validation. You don't need to pretend. What you need is permission. Permission to redefine your relationship with appearance on your own terms, not society's, because pride isn't a requirement. Pride is an experience. And experiences come when you're ready for them, not when the world demands them. If this message resonated with you, if it validated a part of you you've never spoken out loud, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps this reach others who grew up feeling the same invisible pressure. And remember to subscribe and activate the notifications, because next week's episode will reveal something even more challenging, something that will push the boundaries of how we understand self-perception and emotional identity. Because the raw truth is this: there's no one right way to exist in your own skin. And the journey back to yourself doesn't start in the mirror. It starts in your mind.